am not of your world. I am from the outer intergalactic interspace. Welcome to Esoterica and Nonsense, a podcast where we discuss myths, legends, folk tales, fairy tales, supernatural phenomena, and religions from around the world. I am your host, Pepper Bell. I'm sitting here in the evening, and dude, I'm honestly, I'm having like a really weird moment right now. Like, I was supposed to start recording this episode like an hour ago, and something came over me that I really wanted to listen to this song. That was my favorite song when I was 17. And okay, so background. Right now I'm doing the artist's way. If you haven't done it, you might consider it. It's pretty amazing. So I'm doing the artist's way, and one of the exercises was to make a list of people that have championed your art and creativity. And so in doing so, I ended up writing a letter to one of my high school teachers that I haven't seen in like years, over 10 years. And like writing the letter was kind of like, what's the word? Like it was like really sentimental and nostalgic, because I obviously like remember high school, but just writing the letter like connected me to a different headspace. Like I was like having memories that were more visceral, like memories in my body and like memories in my mind, like not just like pictures of the past, but like truly feeling moments of the past. And it made me like a little sad. Like I never want to go back to high school ever. But because I just turned 30, like it all just kind of hit me in the chest that I'm 30 now. Like where did my 20s go? My 20s went by so fast. And I feel like everyone who's older than me, you're like, yeah. I feel like maybe this is something that everyone goes through when they like get older, but it's just like really hitting me. I've always kind of felt like an adolescent boy. I really don't feel like an adult or whatever, but like it hit me in the chest how much time has passed and like how much I have seen and been through. And like, anyway, okay, so because I wrote this letter to my high school teacher, like these feelings came back, like these memories that were so real. And because of that, I guess like my younger self like really wanted to listen to this specific song. And the song is called Love is a Laser Quest by the Arctic Monkeys. And I was obsessed with Alex Turner. I guess once Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not came out, which I think was 2006. I bought that record. I think I bought it at Virgin Records while it was still open. And I became obsessed with Alex Turner. And this was like way before whatever that fucking AM, PM, I don't know what it's called. But it just, yeah, for the last hour, I've been listening to all these like deep cut Last Shadow Puppet and Arctic Monkeys song and Alex Turner solo album, like the Submarine soundtrack. Like, and some of these songs are so the songs aren't necessarily sad, but I started feeling kind of sad, and like it's hard to put my finger on it, but like this like maidenhood melancholy came over me that I kind of forgot. Like when I was like in my maidenhood, I like had this longing and this like emptiness and loneliness and sadness, and like, oh my God, I don't know. It's intense being alive. And I think everyone can attest to that. It's really intense being alive. And that's just base level. And then you add in the cyclical and downward spiral of capitalism and human oppression and war as a business. I mean, it's really, really intense. And I think that's why sometimes like memories of our youth can be like really odd, because in some ways they're so beautiful, and in other ways like you were so naive to the world, and like there's a part of that that's special and a part of that that's sad. Like you forget what that feels like. And yeah, I don't know. I don't really know where I'm going with that, but like that's just something I had to share, something that's on my heart right now. I'm just having like a moment, but I feel so grateful. I feel so happy. But enough of me, enough of me. We're getting back into the thick of it. We are getting back into the meat. We are still in the Tales of the 1001 Nights. If you haven't listened to the previous episodes, you should, because they're juicy, they're delicious. But the beautiful part about these stories is that right now we are in a story within a story within a story within a story within a fucking story. So where are we right now? We are in the Caliph's palace, and the Caliph have summoned the 3 dervishes and the 3 beautiful hot women from the house. And we already heard the stories of the 3 dervishes, and now the Caliph wants to know the stories of the 3 sisters. So he turns to the eldest sister, the hottest sister, the sister who in the story they referred to as the housekeeper, the woman of the house, the keeper of the house. And so she begins to tell her story. Okay, I just want to preface that throughout like the written book, she always refers to her dogs as her bitches, her but like sometimes it's a little much. Like I love using the word bitches, but she keeps being like my black bitches, and it's like, whoa, let's like reel it back. Okay, they are black dogs, they are literal dogs. And yeah, I'm gonna be sparing with the bitch, but trust me, I will deliver on the bitch. Okay, so the beautiful eldest sister, the keeper of the house, the lady of the house, starts with saying that her 2 black dogs are actually her sisters. And the 2 sisters that lived in the house with her, the woman who answered the door and the woman who went to the market with the porter, those 2 women are actually her half sisters. They share a father but have different mothers. And the 2 black dogs were actually her full-blooded sister. And she was the youngest. So one day their father died, and each sister got their share of her inheritance. However, not long after, the beautiful woman's mother also died. And so their mother's wealth was split. Oh God, do you hear the peppers? Am I 14 minutes in? Hold on, time check. Because they always do it 14 minutes. Oh no, we're 8 minutes in. Okay. I can respect that they're switching it up. Okay, peppers, I'm gonna keep reading. So the mom dies now. So now this beautiful woman and her 2 older sisters have lost their father and their mom in a very short period of time. And so the remaining inheritance is split between the 3 sisters, right? And these are the 3 sisters who is A, the beautiful woman of the house, and B, the 2 sisters who are now dogs, right? These are her full-blooded sisters. So each sister got 1,000 dinars. The older sisters decided to use their inheritance as dowries, and they married men. However, not long after they were married, their husbands used the money to buy a bunch of trade goods and embark on a voyage to sell their wares. Peppers. The peppers are barking a lot. Okay, pause. And we're back. So, after the husbands used this money that they got from the sisters' dowries to buy all these trade goods, they set out on a voyage to trade their wares. And they're gone for 5 years. They bring their wives with them. They bring their wives with them, the 2 older sisters. And in that time, the husbands lost all of their money, and they abandoned their wives in foreign lands. And after 5 years, her eldest sister appeared with torn clothes and a dirty shawl. And at first, this beautiful woman, the lady of the house, she thought that this woman was a beggar. She didn't even recognize her own sister. But soon she realized who she was, and she immediately took her in. She gave her clean clothes. She sent her to the bathhouse, and she assured her that she would care for her and share her remaining inheritance, because this was a blessing from Allah that her sister had returned. So they lived together for 1 year, and after 1 year, the other sister returned, and she was even in a worse state than the eldest sister. So the lady of the house took in her middle sister, and she shared her inheritance and assured her that it was a gift from Allah that she had returned. So not long after the two sisters had moved in with their youngest sister, they grew very sad, and they started complaining that they did not want to go on living as single women, and they wanted husbands. They were trying to get married. Literally, why, dude? So the lady of the house, our beautiful, hot main character, she's like, please, like, don't get married. Like, you have already been married. It's been a shit show. It's only brought poor fate. And like, good men are hard to find. It's not like good men just grow on trees. Amen. Am I right? But the sisters insisted. They were like, no, we're definitely getting married. So they found themselves new men, and our beautiful protagonist literally provided them with dowries, paid for the weddings, and off her sisters went. They married these new fucking jack-offs. And what do you know but the same shit happens. These new husbands spend all of their money on getting things to trade. They go on these grand merchant voyages. They fuck it up, and they abandon their wives in foreign lands. And again, the sisters came crawling back in terrible shape, so fucking sad, crestfallen. And they begged their sister to forgive them for their mistakes. And they were even saying, like, take us in as your slaves. Like, we'll do anything you want. Like, we just are desperate for shelter. But of course, their youngest sister assured them. She kissed their feet, and she promised them that they were more dear to her than anything else in life, and that she would gladly take them in as her equals and share her remaining inheritance. Fuck, this is brutal. This like story gets to me, dude. Like, this is just, when you're just too nice. So she takes in her sisters. She loves them. She spoils them even more than she did before. And after a short while, our beautiful lady of the house decided that she was ready to go on her own merchant voyage. She could do a better job than these fucking idiot men. So she chartered a ship out to Basra, and she loaded it with goods, and she prepared for her voyage. And at this point, she asked her two older sisters if they would like to join or if they preferred to stay home. The two sisters insisted on coming, as they could not stand to be away from their sister. So the woman brought half of her money, and she left the other half at home in case they were to be shipwrecked. This woman is so practical. I'm obsessed with her. So once they set sail, they're on this beautiful ship on a beautiful sparkling blue ocean. The three sisters and a whole crew of big, strong men who are manning this ship. And not long after they set sail, a very strong wind came through, and the captain lost sight of where they were, and they were blown off course. And after 10 days, the lookout in the crow's nest spotted land. And he said that the land in the distance was shaped like a dove. So the captain climbed into the crow's nest, and as he gazed at the land in the distance, he remarked that he had never seen this land before, and he had no fucking idea where they were. Like, literally, this fucking captain is so incompetent. Like, damn. You're really just fucking this up, dude. So he tells the women that they can dock on shore and that she can go and see if she can try to sell her wares. And if she can, then she can buy up more goods that she thinks are suitable and they can sell them elsewhere. However, if they don't find anything, if they don't find anyone who wants to buy her stuff and they don't find anything worth buying, they can just spend 2 days resting and then they can head to another city looking for a good place to buy and sell. It's all about buyers and sellers and buyers and sellers, you know? So they anchor their ship offshore and they row to shore in a rowboat, and the captain sets foot on land to go kind of suss everything out. He walks up towards the city walls and they wait a little while, and pretty quickly he returns, and he is astonished. He tells everyone that they need to see for themselves, but that this city has been punished by Allah himself. And he says, like, I don't know what the fuck they did, but these people have been fucking punished. So of course everyone's intrigued. What the fuck is he talking about? So they walk up to the great walls of this city, and they see 2 guards holding spears. But as they get closer, they realize that the guards are made out of black stone. And then, upon entering the doors of the city, they find a bustling city full of people and a market, but all of these people have been turned to black stone. There was no life here, only still moments of what had once been a bustling city. Even the animals had been turned to stone. However, although all the living things had been turned to stone, all the material items had remained unchanged. So people still had clothes on. The clothes were not made of stone. The market was full of gold and silver and beautiful fabrics, truly treasures. So the boat crew and the sisters made their way through the city, just picking up beautiful things and pocketing them. So our main character, the lady of the house, made her way towards the palace. Literally, smart girl. And inside, she found endless amounts of gold and silver objects, utensils. I mean, like, literally everything is made out of gold and silver. And she wandered her way into a great hall, and here she found a man who was very obviously the king, and he was frozen in stone. He was wearing the most incredible clothes of splendor. They were encrusted with jewels. He was sitting on a throne studded with pearls and gems. Like, yes, this fantasy. His clothes were made of a gold fabric encrusted with jewels shining like stars. He was surrounded by his advisors, viziers, chamberlains. Around them were 50 Mamluks. Mamluks were Christian soldiers. The Mamluks were dressed in silks with drawn swords in their hands. Truly, she was taken aback. I mean, like, what a sight to see, a moment frozen in time. And from there, she wandered into the harem hall. There, she found walls covered with hanging silks, embroidered with gold branches. There was a queen who was asleep. She wore a robe covered in pearls. Oh my God, get me a robe covered in pearls. Stat. She wore a crown of gemstones of many varieties, and she wore many gold necklaces. And truly, I mean, like, there was something kind of creepy about this, you know? Like, she's in the city, in this palace, and, like, it's truly just a moment frozen in time. There's something like really eerie about this. It's like a Scooby-Doo episode, dude. So from the harem hall, she noticed an open door. So she walked over to it, and there she discovered a 7-step staircase, which led to a chamber with marble floors and gold-embroidered carpets. Here there was a couch made out of juniper wood, inset with pearls and stones. Shout out to a previous episode. There is an episode of my podcast about juniper and its significance in the ancient world. Highly recommend. So she's in this chamber. She finds this incredible couch made out of juniper wood, inset with pearls and stones. There were 2 large emeralds covered by hanging pearls. Like, are you serious? Let me repeat that. 2 large emeralds covered by hanging pearls. Like, get out of here. Sign me up. From there, she saw another door with light shining behind it. So she walked over to this door, and inside she found a small chair with a jewel the size of a duck egg shining like a candle and reflecting light all over the silks that were strewn across the chair and a small couch across from it. What? A fucking jewel the size of a duck egg? Oh my God. But what was kind of creepy is that in this little chamber, she noticed that there was lit candles. So she realized that someone here must have lit them. There must be a living person somewhere in this palace who lit these candles. And all of these scenes were so shocking and so awe-inspiring that she started to wander the palace as if she was in a dream. I mean, honestly though, if I put myself in her shoes, I honestly would be kind of freaked out. If I see lit candles, like, I'm nervous. You know what I mean? Like, who the fuck's in here? Like, was it someone who cast this fucking curse or spell? You know what I mean? Like, it's giving white witch energy. It's giving the magician's nephew. Like, this is creepy. So she continues to wander the palace until nightfall. And finally, she kind of snaps out of this daze and she realizes that she's kind of lost. So she decides to leave the palace and she starts to wander back towards the gates of the city, but she realizes that she has no idea where she is. She has no idea how to return to the gates of the city. So in a little bit of a frenzy, she returns to the palace. She makes her way up to that magic chamber with lit candles, and she sits on the couch strewn with silks across from the jewel the size of a duck egg. And here she recites a verse from the Quran, praises Allah, and lays down to sleep. As the night continues, she cannot sleep. She's a little bit stressed. She's feeling uneasy. I mean, I would too. But right around midnight, she starts to hear a beautiful voice from somewhere in the palace. And this beautiful voice is reciting the Quran. So she gets off of her couch and she follows the sounds through the palace until she comes across a small shut door. She opens the door to find a small ornate chapel with hung lit lamps and candles strewn about, all lit. And in this little chamber, there was a prayer nook, and there was a prayer rug laying on the ground, and atop of it sat a handsome man reading a copy of the Quran. This beautiful woman enters the room, and she greets the gorgeous young man, and she asks him how he came to survive in this city while everyone else had been turned to stone. The beautiful man turns to her and he tells her that he would like to know how she found herself here and that he will tell her his story once he hears her story. So the young woman begins to tell him her story. She tells him of her parents dying, her inheritance, her sisters going on 2 fool's errands and being entrusted with her, and eventually her deciding to go on this merchant journey, her falling off course, and her finding herself here in this bizarre city. The beautiful man listened in wonder and amazement. And as she finished, he began to tell her his story. But before he began, the man said, "Wait, my dear sister." He closed the Quran and put it in a satin bag, and he invited her to sit next to him. She sat down and gazed into his face and thought that it looked like the full moon. He was a moon-faced boy. She described him as supple and handsome, his appearance like a sugar stick with a well-proportioned frame. Are you serious? I want someone to tell me that I look like a sugar stick with a well-proportioned frame. They're so good at compliments. And here they add in a little poem about his beauty. To the astrologer watching by night appeared a beautiful form dressed in twin robes. Saturn had granted him black hair, coloring his temples with the shade of musk. From Mars derived the redness of his cheeks, while Sagittarius shot arrows from his eyelids. Mercury supplied keenness of mind, while the bear forbade the slanders to look at him. The astrologer was bewildered by what he saw, and the ground before him was kissed by the full moon. Dreamy. So, needless to say, this woman was falling in love with this moon-faced hunk. So he began to tell his story. He told the young woman that he was the son of the king of this palace and the queen, who she had seen in other chambers and who had been frozen in stone. The people of the city were Magians or Magas. They were essentially believers in magic, and they had worshipped fire and not Allah. They would worship fire, light, shadows, and even the heat of the sun. The king lived for many years without an heir, and later in his life he bore a son, which is the moon-faced boy, the moon-faced beautiful boy. He raised him for many years, and eventually he hired a woman to come and help raise the boy. This woman was a practicing Muslim. However, she did so in secret because this kingdom was believers in magic and pagan bitchcraft. I mean, we'll keep going, but this whole story is just layered in fear of quote unquote paganism. Okay. So this woman would parade around like the others during the day, but in secret, she would practice Islam and read the Quran. Privately, she taught the young prince about ritual purification and to worship none other than the Almighty Allah. She had him memorize the entire Quran, and she told him to never tell his father, the king, lest he kill him for being a traitor. However, shortly after, this older lady died, and the city sank further into unbelief and delusions, into heathenry. One day, a rumbling voice like thunder came through the sky and said to the people of the city, "Citizens, turn away from the worship of fire and worship Allah, the merciful King." This startled the people and freaked them out, so they went to their king and asked them what it all meant. The king assured them not to be frightened and not to be shaken from their beliefs or religion. So the people started to worship fire with more zest, more passion, and they became more wicked for over a year. Just about a year later, the voice spoke to them again, and again 1 year later, and a third time 3 years later. The voice was starting to speak to them every single year, but the people would not lose their faith until One day, as day broke and the sun began to rise, divine wrath descended and turned everyone in and their animals into stone. Only the moon-faced prince escaped because he had been a believer in Allah. And he, to this day, has been living alone, reciting the Quran, fasting and praying. But, as he says, I cannot go on living with no one to keep me company. So at this point, our girl is like, swoon. She's obsessed. I mean, also, this is like so layered because like, in a sense I get it, but like, yeah. There's just a lot to unpack here. This is giving like paganism equals blasphemy. But nonetheless, our beautiful lady of the house is like fully in love with this guy. Like she's obsessed. So immediately she invites him to accompany her back to Baghdad. And there they will meet wise men and priests where he can learn more of Islam and he will be taken care of by her. She bats her lashes. She really puts on her beautiful, seductive energy. And she explains to him that she has a ship ready to go in the harbor, filled with treasures and men, an entire crew. And she assures him that fate brought them together. It was destiny for them to meet. So naturally, this woman is so beautiful, also a disciple of Allah. So pretty quickly, the moon-faced baby boy agrees. He's not a baby, he's a young man, but you know what I mean. So that night, she slept at his feet in utter disbelief of this major score. In the morning, they gathered valuables around the palace that were small and lightweight. And of course, you already know, they got the jewel the size of the fucking duck egg. And they began to make their way back to the city gates and then to the ship. The captain and the men of the ship were stressed out because, of course, their employer had been missing all night. And as she approached, they were so happy. They took a huge sigh of relief. And then she shared with them about her night that she had spent with the prince and the story he had told her about the curse that had struck the city. When the two sisters saw her with the young prince, they immediately became jealous and they began to secretly scheme. These fucking bitches. Haters, bro. So the beautiful woman and her new boyfriend board the ship in high spirits with all these treasures they have found. And our beautiful protagonist, our lady of the house, is even more happy because beyond all of these treasures, she has scored a moon-faced man and she's fucking elated. So they board the ship catches a wind and they began to sail away. En route, the sisters ask their youngest sister, the lady of the house, they ask her what her plans are with this young prince. And she explains to them that she intends to marry him. So right then and there, she stands up, approaches the prince, and she tells him that when they return to Baghdad, she would like him to become her husband and for her to be his wife. And he's like, cool. So literally, this is bad bitchery. This is how it's done. I actually don't know where this whole fantasy of getting on one knee came from. I kind of love in the ancient world, this was like business. Like, my plans are for you to be my husband on return. What say you? And he's like, me says yes. I love it. I love this girl. She is so hot and has such a big heart. Like, that's extra hot. We really like her. So she's really excited. He just agreed to marry her, and she returns to her sisters, and she explains to her sisters that this moon-faced man is the greatest of all treasures. And when they return to Baghdad, she does not need any of the monetary profits, and that her two sisters can split the profits between the two of them. Like, I'm sorry, you do not deserve this sister. She is so nice. So the sisters offer their congratulations, but deep down, they're fucking pissed. They're secretly plotting because they're fucking sick of their sister and her quote unquote perfect life. Like, ew. So after a week or so sailing, the ship comes in sight with the walls of the city of Basra, the city that they originally intended to visit. As night fell, everyone on the ship prepared for sleep before entering the city the next day. And that night, these two bitchy fucking sisters carried their youngest sister on her mattress and threw her overboard. After, they went into the prince's chamber and they threw him overboard as well. Sadly, our moon-faced prince could not swim and he quickly drowned. Ugh. This is giving Titanic. Jack, this is so fucking sad. So our beautiful lady of the house floats in agony. She floats for dear life. And there's a certain point where she almost wishes that Allah would take her as well, because fuck this. Like, how shitty can this get? But as fate would have it, she found a plank of wood floating in the ocean and she clung to it. And eventually she floated by night towards a small island. She found herself on the shore of this island and she began to walk across all night. And as day broke, she found herself on the other end of the island, and here she found a small track of sand, just wide enough to fit a foot. And this track of sand connected the island to the mainland. So before commencing her journey back to the mainland, the woman took her clothes off and let them dry. She drank from the fresh waters on the island and ate fresh fruit. Honestly, let's move here. This island sounds amazing. And after she recharged, she set off on this small track of sand leading towards the mainland. So, as she walked across this track of sand, she grew closer and closer to the mainland. And soon, as she was almost there, she noticed that there was a giant serpent as thick as a palm tree darting towards her on this small track of sand. Ooh, that's not good. This giant serpent was being pursued by a dragon, thin and long. The snake was swerving left and right to avoid the dragon's attack. But alas, this dragon seized the tail of the serpent. The snake began to shed tears, and its tongue flailed in exhaustion, trying to break free from the grasp of the dragon. The woman felt sorry for the serpent. It obviously looked hella scared, and it was about to die. So, without thinking, she bent down and picked up a stone, and she threw it at the head of the dragon. She hit it perfectly between the eyes, and it killed it instantly. After, the serpent unfolded a pair of wings on its back and flew into the sky and out of sight. The young woman was amazed, a little bit confused, but ultimately, after walking all day in the hot sun, she was exhausted. So she sat down on this small track of sand and settled down for a nap. A few hours later, she woke up and she found a girl with two black dogs sitting by her feet and massaging her feet. She immediately sat up startled and she asked, "Who are you? Like, why are you massaging my feet? Who the fuck are you?" And this girl says, "Oh, how quickly you forget me. I, of course, am the serpent that you saved from my foe, the dragon. For I am jinn, as was the dragon. He was my enemy, and I would have never escaped if it wasn't for you." She explained that after that the woman saved her, that she flew to the ship with her sisters and took all of its cargo back to her house. And then she sank the ship and turned her sisters into bitches as punishment for what they had done to her. She said that sadly, the moon-faced boy had already drowned and there was nothing that could be done. The jinn then picked up the young woman and she flew her back to her home. Once the young woman returned home, she found that all of the treasure was in fact waiting for her there. However, the jinn told her that these two bitches, these two dogs, would require 300 lashes a day, and if she failed to give them the 300 lashings, she herself would also be turned into a bitch. This is brutal. So, the lady of the house explains to the caliph that this is why she lashes her dog each day, and why every time she does it, she sheds tears and is full of remorse, and how painful it is to hurt her dear sisters. The caliph listened in astonishment. He was like, "What?" And with that, he turned to the second sister, the one who calls her pussy husked sesame. And husked sesame was the sister that had opened the door. And with this, the caliph said, "Please, woman, I would like to know why you have these scars on your back, as if that you have lived through lashings." And so the second sister told her story. And that will be continued on our next episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you like the podcast, please subscribe, please write a review, email in to tell me you like it, or suggest a topic you want covered at esotericaandnonsense@gmail.com. Do you want merch? Do you want a t-shirt? You can look at the link in my show description. You're amazing. You're incredible. Live, laugh, Limp Bizkit. I wish you the best, and happy Aries season, happy eclipse season, over and out.